right. Well, I am so excited today to have Janelle Lara with me for this little interview, just talking about us getting to work together and the beautiful transformation that happened. So, Janelle, go ahead and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, Jamie, thank you so much. I'm so glad and honored to be here. My name is Janelle Lara, and I'm known on the internet as the part-time CEO. But I just love helping women, in particular women healers, build a successful company because I've just like had so much impact with healers and Jamie in particular. And they've just changed my life for the better. And so I just really feel like every healer should be wealthy. So that is what I do for work. I help healers with specifically copywriting. And I do some copywriting for other different types of companies on the side. But I'm a wife, I'm a mom of three, I work 2 days a week. And yeah, I am just so excited to chat about how working with Jamie has changed my life, really.
Yay, yes, and you are incredible with what you do. I could just go on forever on all the ways that you've helped me, and so it's been a beautiful thing getting to work together. So, where were you before finding me? Just kind of give a brief synopsis of that.
Yeah, totally. So when Jamie and I fell into each other's circles, I was running a company that I've been running for about 5 years at that point. And the company had done very well. But the money felt hard. So, it was a multiple six-figure company, but I was working so hard to bring in that amount of money. Even though I was only working 2 or 3 days a week, but those 2 or 3 days, like it was very normal for me to come home with a migraine, or for me to just leave at the end of the day and just be like totally wiped out. Like I was really giving everything I had to my clients, to the point where on my days off, I was just recuperating so that, it was like 4 days of recuperation so that I could work, the 2.5 days or whatever. And so it was very rewarding, but it just felt very difficult. And I think too, in a lot of ways, um, I felt like a slave to my business, really. There was always something to do. And the things that I truly wanted, which was, money that felt really, easy and light and flowy and abundant, right? And a lot more present time with my children. I had just had my third child when I started working with Jamie. And so that really threw off the balance for me as a mother. And I just really wanted to truly be present for my kids on my day off rather than just be like recuperating from working so hard. Um, and so that's where I was before. Like it was good, the money was coming in, but it felt so hard. And after 5 years of telling yourself, like, after this next launch, after this next client, once I get, my marketing nailed down consistently, once I get, it got to the point where, I mean, I had had six-figure launches. I had really powerful referral partners who I basically didn't even have to market because I had these amazing referral partners doing the marketing for me. I mean, my business checked off a lot of the things that I was like, once I get this, right? But it was still really hard. And so that's where I was. Like even as I'm talking about it, it just in my heart space, like I feel this like block. It was just like I couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
Um, that's where I was when I found you.
Yeah, and I think a lot of women can relate to all, or if not all, at least some of those aspects of being like, oh my goodness, yes, I feel that. Like I've got kids, I'm doing this, I'm motivated. There's so much. So what made you feel like something needed to change?
I think it was that me. So I think it was the third child. I think it was me
Mhm.
having my third kid. I'm sure a lot of people listening, a lot of moms listening can relate. Like you're outnumbered. It's a whole new. It really is. It's a whole new level of motherhood. And so I had my third kid, and then it had just been 5 years of me telling myself like after this milestone, after that milestone, then I'll be able to XYZ, then things will be different. And just finding that it wasn't like, the money came in and then it was gone and then it was on to the next, right? And I had tried different ways of expanding. I had, created this group program that ran for the most part without me. I only had to show up, a few hours a month. Um, and that was not, I mean, it's like passive income. It's like, it's not really passive. It's kind of the same thing. Like creating a group program where you only have to show up a little bit, that is not as passive or as easy as you think it is. And so, it was just seeing me set goals for myself over the course of 5 years. And then upon achieving the goals, realize that it only came with more responsibility and that there was always going to be more to achieve. um, After 5 years of that, I had to admit that I was the problem, and that I was the common denominator. And maybe it wasn't the marketing, maybe it wasn't the amount of money, maybe it wasn't the launch or the type of offer. I had to realize that it was me, and yeah, I think that admission, and just realizing that like I clearly have some issues with money, and it being hard, and even like the management of it. Um, yeah, I think that's when I realized I was like, something's got to give. Like this isn't working.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And I mean, it is so hard to realize that it's like, oh crap, I am the common denominator. Like whether people have gotten to that point yet or you'll get
Yeah.
there, like there is that point where you're like, oh crap, things have to change, right? Like
Yeah.
I get it. Yes. So how did you decide to work with me? And did you have any reservations about it?
Jamie, I did not have any reservations about working with you. I am so impressed by you, just in general. Um, we met, well, I think we had had like a DM exchange a while ago. And then you joined my offer. You joined one of my programs. And I was just so impressed by you and just the way that you showed up to that program. And I mean, you like showed up, you did your homework, you were there for every call, like you were organized and efficient and just like did the work, and you never, because you had an interesting story as well and kind of an up and down journey in my program, and you never, like, you took full responsibility the entire time to the point where the program actually worked for great success for you. And I was just so impressed by the way that you showed up. And then, you totally got me with the nose session, the nose, like, I was like, hold up. I want to know what my nose says about wealth. And I think too, Jamie, just like that realization of like you're a single mom and you are like providing for your daughter, and you're not just like getting by. Like you are like growing wealth. You own a really big accounting firm, and just that realization of like, okay, there are women running businesses who are doing really well all by themselves. And I knew that that existed, of course. But I know for myself and my business, again, there was a lot of money coming in, but even so, it would never have supported my family, And so I think like I knew that you knew something that I didn't know, or you had, discipline and behaviors and beliefs that I didn't have, right? And so I was super impressed by you. I was totally curious about the nose session. During that nose session, you were just spot on. Like you totally like hit me with a 2x4. I think, do you mind if I share like what came up
Yeah, for
during?
sure. Yeah.
Well, what really hit me was that like I was basically blaming my kids for my lack of success. And I was just like, ugh, if only like once they're all in school, right? And I was watching myself do it again, be like, it's another goalpost, it's a different goalpost, it's that goalpost, and this time it was once they're all in school. And you just totally like called me out on that, and you were like, you don't, like, your kids don't have to be an impediment to your success. And and you may help me realize that was the belief I had, and also it was the belief that wasn't serving me and it was not serving my children, because knowingly or not, I was ingratiating that into my children and telling them, oh, you have to wait for your success for other people, right? Um, and Jamie, I think that's just such a huge crux to what you do, of like encouraging women to put themselves first. And I think we've just been so cautioned against that and away from that. But, with your guidance over the last 6 months, I have been doing that. And sorry, I'm probably skipping ahead in the story here.
No, keep going. You're doing great.
My entire life is completely transformed for the better. Like everything is better and I'm better, my life is better, my health is better. And so yeah, I mean that's what really I wasn't sure going into the nose session if I was going to sign up to work with you. I was like, well, let's see what she says. I don't know what this is all about, but I was super curious. And then on the session, I was like, I feel like I kind of have to. And it was like a no-brainer price point. And yeah, it was an immediate yes.
Ah, yes, which I was so excited to when you said yes. And I hope you're okay that I mentioned this. You actually did 2 rounds with me because
Yeah.
you saw great change the first time, and then I just remember that last session there was just another switch point where you're just like, I have to sign up again. And then that second round, I mean, wow. So talk about some of those shifts that happen. Like, what are some of the big changes that you've had in the last few months?
Yeah, I feel like that first, and this is very common when you go into healing or coaching. It's like I feel like the first round, with anyone or in any program, you're just kind of adjusting to the belief shifts, right? Like you're adjusting to this new way of thinking and this new, mode of operating. And then I feel like with the second time, I was like, oh, I'm not done. Like, I need to do this again. And the second time, that was where I felt the belief shifts turn into action.
Yeah.
And like my life actually changed. And in particular, my business changed.
Yeah.
And so I would say some major shifts are that I got really aligned with my schedule. And so I really, before I was just always doing like the bare minimum childcare, the bare minimum, self-care time. And just really like, I was really just putting everyone else first. I was putting myself last. Um, and what would happen was that I would be so desperate. So last minute, I would, make a huge investment into like, a spa day or go on a shopping spree or splurge or binge, right? Like, because I was just so desperate for that dopamine. I was desperate for sleep. I was desperate for self care, you know. And so that was what was happening over, the past several years for me. Um, I was resenting my kids. I was overworking in my business to almost like, I guess, prove like why I had to, to justify being away from them and being as tired as I was, right? And so I got really in alignment with my schedule. And it was amazing. Like I had all of a sudden I was like, "Oh, I actually deserve like workout time. And I deserve time to clean my house without children running underfoot and just messing everything up like as I do it, right?" And just this recognition of like, wow, like it's okay for me to have a cup of hot coffee in the morning and just be able to sit in silence, And just these things that like we just take for granted, like moms don't get these things, right? And I think, creating those boundaries, creating that time in my schedule for me and putting myself first was extremely, extremely powerful to me recognizing what example of motherhood do I want to share with my daughters. I have 3 girls, so I feel a very strong responsibility to show them what life can be like, right? And to not, maintain the status quo and, keep them believing those same things of like moms are always tired, moms are haggard, moms are overweight, moms are this, right? Moms don't have time for themselves, so that I think was a very important shift in that first um series with you. And it was interesting because I will never forget. I mean, that was a major shift for me. I will never forget the shift that we had on that last call, which was, me feeling like a bad mom for putting my baby in daycare 3 days a week. And, I know that for a lot of families listening, it's like, wow, like first world problems, but I am blessed that I don't never had to send my kids to daycare and I was able to stay home with them and I have stayed home with them. But I just came to the realization that having, 3 days a week to not only work, but also to work out and clean the house and have me time would be really impactful for me in my life. And oh, I agonized over that decision. Oh my gosh, it was like insane. And you kind of walked me through it. And of course, we talked about my mom and all the disparaging things that my mom had said about working moms and children who went to daycare and things like that. And we came to the realization that, or you led me to this realization of, um, my parents were amazing. I'm really blessed. I have really incredible parents. But the one thing that they haven't given us has been their mental health. And that realization for me of like, my daughters, more than anything, deserve my mental health. That blew me away. That was like, a brain shift, a life altering moment for me of like, that is the biggest gift that I can give to my daughters, aside from, love and security and a healthy attachment, is I won't ever be able to create that healthy and secure attachment with my children if I'm not in a good space, mentally and emotionally. Um, so that was huge. And that's when I was like, okay, like I need this. I need more of this.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I'm like getting chills just remembering it and hearing it again because it was so powerful. And it's been so beautiful to watch you go from, yeah, feeling so exhausted and feeling so tired and feeling overworked to, and you're still busy. Like you still have three kids, you're still married, you still have a business, you know what I mean? But there's a distinct shift in your energy as far as yeah, like you said, how you approach your schedule, how you approach your daycare, how you approach all these different things, and it's this calmness that I've seen come over your soul. And
Mhm.
the one thing I want to point out to everyone is it's not always an easy transition. you
Yeah.
yeah, you had a lot of really hard conversations. There were waiting periods. There were conversations with God that you were like, okay, I'm just going to trust, and I'm making this big. Yeah, so maybe talk into that just a little bit because sometimes it's really hard.
Well, a story that I love in the Old Testament is I think it was Jacob wrestling with the angel. And I like, oh gosh, poor God. I'm constantly wrestling with him. I'm just like, no, we're gonna wrestle this out, And so that was a definite period, especially that second half, I would say, of us working together was definitely a period of us wrestling and me, really having to wait on God in many occasions. So, I was instructed to put a lot of aspects of my business on hold, which meant that my income totally dried up, which was an interesting experience that I literally hadn't had in 5 years, So that was difficult, I think, on top of the fact that I was learning to put myself first. So I was saying no to a lot of people, including my husband. And, first I said, yes a lot more to him, and then I said no a lot more to him, and it was just this very interesting cadence of like me just honoring and trusting that in putting myself first and in honoring myself, that my life was going to turn out better than I could have imagined or planned. But there were some moments where I was just like, God, like I don't, something's got to give here, um, and I mean, and they did. My business looks completely different. I did so many things. I shut down that program that I had been doing. I coach significantly less now. I've moved more into done for you services, which I can, do. So it's so much easier for me. I've been, writing marketing copy for 6 years. So it's just, it's something that really feeds my soul rather than drains my soul. Um, I I mean, because I have such less expenses in my so many less expenses in my business, because remember, I was trying to grow this like machine that could in essence work without me, but that required so much, so many expenses, so much investment, And so now, even though the money is, technically less, I keep so much more of it and it's so much easier, right? And so yeah, like I just so much has changed. Before I swore I would never work with my husband, and now my husband are planning on opening a business together. I had consistently been putting off, a heart project that I want to do, which is I'm an astrologer, so I want to write a book called Christianity and Astrology: A Case for Unity. Now I have time and the energy to work on that. I mean, it's just so many things. So many things have shifted, and I mean, I feel like words don't even do it justice. Like, the actual results, I think, are like, don't do it justice. I mean, I sold like my first ever, multiple five-figure package for like one person paying me a lot of money for like this very intensive one-to-one coaching package. So I mean, that was really fun. So I mean, there were definitely like financial achievements that came out of working with you. But I think the biggest result really is just that calmness that you mentioned, and just like that peace that I feel when I take the time to put myself first, and just knowing that like that's actually a fundamental responsibility that I have towards myself and towards my family, is to put myself first, and just that trust that it will all work better. Everything works out better for them when I do that.
Yes, and I'm so glad you said that because I mean that is something that I hold so dear. And a lot of people will hear that and be like, "Oh, that's so selfish to put yourself first." And it's like, "No, no, this is not in a selfish way." But literally, when you value yourself, put yourself first, it really does bless everyone else. And yeah, like you are just such an example of that. And as much as it was, you know, I'm sure hard to like wait and see kind of everything in your business slow down. It's been really cool to see large chunks of money come to you in such a different energy, right? And so now it's like, sure, at this point it's maybe a little bit lower, but it's only going to grow from here because you've built that foundation of how it gets to come to you. And yes, it's just been so cool to watch. So, so cool to watch. And I agree. Words are like, it's hard to put into words. um,
So, yeah, no, it's true. Yeah.
yeah. So if someone's kind of on the fence of working with me, what would you tell them or what would you share with them?
I think if you are attracted to Jamie and her message, like there's a reason for that, right? And I think, a woman's relationship with money and even like success and achievement, like it's been so distorted. I mean, I will tell you that I am so disheartened by the number of women that I see online who start a successful company and then get divorced. And I know that for me, that was very difficult for me to see. But I also, like, after having experienced, 5, 6 years in the business, in the online business space, which is totally like it's not the real world, right? Like the online business space is so unique and so nuanced. I understand like why and how that happens, um, because it messes with you in so many ways. But um, you're attracted to Jamie and her message for a reason, number one. Number two, I would encourage every single person listening to do a nose session with Jamie, because I think, self knowledge is power. And I know that for me, what came out of that, if I had been ready and willing to, if I had had almost like the spiritual maturity to be able to like take that and run with it, like that transformation alone was a major shift in my parenting paradigm, in my success paradigm, in my paradigm as a woman. And so I would say at the very least, do a no session, but then be ready because you might realize that you have to work with Jamie. And I mean, we all need coaches. We all need support. And something that I love about Jamie is how knowledgeable you are about so many different things. And so your knowledge on body mapping was extremely supportive for me as I was kind of navigating this very unique stage in my life, and my body was talking to me and telling me things. and I couldn't read it. Like I didn't know what it all meant. And so to be able to have Jamie as a resource was super supportive on top of like your astrology knowledge and your human design knowledge and your knowledge about belief shifting. My drums are absolutely beautiful. I have them here in my office. I love them. My kids love them. They're included when you work with Jamie. I mean, it's just like all these different facets and aspects come together so beautifully when you work with Jamie. So I I'm gonna tell them all to sign up for a no.
I love it. I support that.
Just take one simple step.
Yes. Yeah, you know, and it's really fun even for me with no sessions because I don't even know really what's going to come out of it at the end. I mean, I know what we're looking for, but I don't actually know the specific for that person. So it's just such a fun discovery, and that's why it's called a discovery session because we're really just discovering you and like what that little piece is that just needs to shift. So yeah,
Yes,
thank you. I appreciate that.
you're
So,
welcome.
okay, so Janelle, how can people reach you? You still do amazing work, especially like you said with your copywriting, and it's just not necessarily as much online. So, what's the best way for people to get in contact with you if they are interested in working with you?
Yeah, I live online at theparttimeceo.com. And so if you ever wanted to check out what I'm doing with copywriting, I would say that's where you go.
Okay, perfect. And I will include that link in the comments so that people have quick access to it. But thank you, Janelle, for taking this time. And I just dearly loved and enjoyed our time working together. It's been awesome and just so exciting to see all the beautiful shifts in your life.
Thank you,
So,
Jamie. I'm so grateful for you. This was
yeah,
amazing, an amazing experience.
thank you.